Chapter 7, Family and Weapons. Back at the base, Iron Stripe and Saber Claw were in the large field behind the base. Training was needed for the young Sentiron. All right, remember to attack where your opponent least expects it, Iron Stripe said as Saber Claw lunged at him. I am bigger than you, so don't try to outfight me, outsmart me. She stopped right in front of him and slapped him across the face. She didn't even do it very hard, but it was enough to catch him off guard. He was very puzzled, but Saber Claw didn't wait for him to figure anything out. She lowered her body, spun, and hit his leg with hers. This knocked him off his feet. He was on the ground, and Saber Claw activated her blaster and pointed it at his head. That's smart enough for you, Teach. Saber Claw taunted him as she helped him up. Saber Claw, that is a very risky move. However, it worked, so I guess it is enough for me. Don't ever use that technique again. Iron Stripe got up and continued fake fighting her. They fought for a little while as they engaged in conversation. Saber Claw blocked a side swipe with her forearms. You know, I feel like it is hard to fight up close with just blasters in my fists. And blasters are supposed to be for long-range attacks. She grabbed his arm and twisted, holding Iron Stripe in place. However, he used his legs to kick her off. Saber Claw, the blaster is useful for all kinds of combat. Also, one of the major rules of fist fighting is to not talk. It tells your opponent that you are weak. He knew this wasn't actually a rule, but he just wanted her to stop complaining. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. She sighed with an annoyed tone. Saber Claw, seriously though, I could use like a knife or something and it would be easier. Saber Claw, I am not going to fight you if you have a knife. Not even if it is just training. I'm not going to lie to you. You would be lethal with a blade, and I'm not going to risk that. Well, duh. I mean for real fighting. Saber Claw backed away from him in the middle of their fight and demonstrated. She clutched her hand a little like she had a knife in her hand and jumped up. As she was in the air, she spun and struck her imaginary enemy, which was the air in reality. Then, once she landed, she relaxed and positioned herself upright again, lifting her arms a little in a shrug. You get it? She waited for his response as he lowered his fists and answered her. Saber Claw, I understand and I agree with you. Regardless, you need to know how to fight without a weapon. He raised his fists in defense as he expected her to attack him and continue the fight, but she didn't. Really? Great talk. I'm going to go ask Sam if he can make me something, she said excitedly and ran back to the hangar. Iron Stripe sighed, rolled his eyes, and let his shoulders relax as he let his head hang and walked back to the hangar after Saber Claw. So much for today's lesson. This young robot was very easily distracted, and that trait made it hard to train her if he wasn't careful to keep her attention. He entered the hangar and saw the usual Saturday morning scene. Silverspit was nowhere in sight. She was probably in the lab working on some new addition to something. Lila was actually updating the school schedule, which was unusual and unexpected. The schedule was severely looked down upon by Saber Claw, but apparently Lila was appreciative. Saber Claw was being very expressive as she talked to Sam. She was obviously excited because she only used such body language when she was anticipating something interesting or exciting to happen. So, is it possible I could get something like a knife? I honestly don't care what it is, I just want something for close combat. Iron Stripe and Silverspit could get something too, she exclaimed. Sam was pondering his response when Iron Stripe jumped in. Saber Claw, you should care about what your weapons are. You didn't get to choose your blaster, but you need to pay attention to weapon selection. For example, you probably couldn't lug around a giant mace, but you wouldn't want a tiny pocket knife either due to lack of damage to your opponent. Saber Claw shrugged, for he had a point. Maybe she should really think about her weapon. She wanted one that fit her personality and aesthetic, but was deadly as well. She wanted something she could throw, too. One that would make an enemy perish almost instantly. The thought of knives came back to her mind again. A throwing knife would be nice, but they're a little small for Saber Claw's taste. Then again, she was thinking of these things, and Sam hadn't even told her he could do it yet. Saber Claw, I hate to disappoint, but I am not able to make weapons. It was never a tool in my belt. It is a wonder your blaster works. Sam sighed as he said this. Saber Claw was confused. Wait, so you're telling me that you created autonomous, complex life forms, she gestured to herself, but you can't make something sharp? No offense, of course. Sam looked at his shoes. None taken. I never was good at making weapons, but he quieted down to a whisper that was inaudible. Saberclaw tilted her head. What did you say? Sam looked up with a slightly guilty face. But my brother is. That's what I said. Saberclaw moved her head backwards in confusion and shock. You never told us about a brother. Does he live near here? Can he make us weapons? What's his name? Saberclaw asked these questions like firing rapid fire. Saberclaw dash, Sam began, but was interrupted by Lila as she snapped her fingers. Oh yeah, I remember. Uncle John, she exclaimed. Saberclaw saw hesitation in her creator's body language. What's wrong? Have you two not seen each other in a while or something? Saberclaw asked, but Sam shrugged, trying to wave it off as his emotions intensified. Sam continued. Yeah, me and my brother don't get along well. You see, he was never as good at inventing as I was when we were growing up. His weapons were never as attention-drawing as my inventions. This led to tension and jealousy that never really got resolved. We have just been avoiding each other ever since we moved out of our parents' home. He turned to the side a little, not wanting to look anyone in the eye because he felt awkward. Saberclaw put on a sympathetic face. She didn't know what having a brother that didn't like her felt like, but she knew it probably sucked. Well, maybe we can go ask him for some weapons. I am sure that once he figures out who we are and why we need the weapons, he will help us. Sam's eyes widened. No, he can't know that you all exist. If he did, then he could tell someone else, and then the news would get out. I know you trust him, Saberclaw, but you don't know him, and I do. He clenched his fists, and he looked sad. Saberclaw begged him, but can we at least try? Everyone was looking at Sam with hope in their eyes. Silver Spot had walked in at the beginning of the conversation without sound, so she was thinking about a weapon too. However, no one seemed to notice she was there. All right, fine. Sam finally answered Saberclaw's question since she kept nagging. Saberclaw and Lila celebrated, although for two different reasons. Saberclaw was happy she would get a weapon, but Lila just wanted to see her uncle again after all these years. He had come to one Christmas, but never came back after that, and she never knew why until now. Where does this John person live? Silver Spot asked as Saberclaw and Lila continued to celebrate. Saberclaw jumped and put her hand on her chest. She had not realized that Silver Spot was behind her. Silver Spot began walking toward Sam in order to talk to him better. How do you intend to get there? She asked him. Sam made eye contact with her. That is a good question. He doesn't live too far away from here, but we will have to get past human civilization, and Saberclaw is the only one who can become human. He rubbed his chin with his hand. Can you two fly there? He asked. Silver Spot shook her head. No, we will be spotted in the sky. Sam knew that Iron Stripe and Silver Spot had to come in order to pick out weapons, but how was he supposed to get them there? He got an idea. Wait, we can just go at night. Is that an option for you? Silver Spot thought on this and turned to Iron Stripe, looking at his large size. She thought about how, at night, humans usually sleep and stay inside their homes. Yes, I'm sure we can manage that. They waited until dark before leaving the base. Silver Spot held Sam, and Saberclaw held Lila as they took off into the night sky. This way, we will get there faster, Silver Spot said as Sam held on tightly. Why do we have to fly? It isn't like we have a time limit. Can't we just walk? Sam had a strong fear of heights. Silver Spot gave in to him and signaled to Saberclaw and Iron Stripe to land. Why did we stop? Saberclaw asked as they landed in an empty street. It was maybe 9 o'clock at night, and the street was dark except for a few streetlights. This town was on the beach of a large river, it seemed. Silver Spot looked around, and it seemed quiet. Sam didn't want to fly, so we will walk the rest of the way. We're almost at the coordinates, Sam showed me anyway. They began walking down the street. The pier was on their right, and a sidewalk with dark houses on their right. Saberclaw, Iron Stripe, and Silver Spot heard footsteps, too small to be an enemy, but it was nighttime. Why would a human be out at night? A woman rounded the corner. She was wearing a reflective vest with a bright pink, tight shirt underneath, and black leggings. She was messing with her phone, which was playing music through her headphones as she walked. She looked up and gasped with surprise. Sam was shocked and stressed at the same time. I can explain, he exclaimed. Lila whirled around, and looked at the place where the bots were with a stressed expression. The Sentiron were not there. Then Lila looked a little to her left and saw them. They were hiding behind a building, and Saberclaw was violently pressing her fingers to her mouth, silently shushing Iron Stripe. Lila exhaled. "Explain what?" the woman asked, and tilted her head as she took out her earbuds. We just didn't know there would be another person out this late." Lila responded as she tapped her father and nodded towards the bots who were hiding. Silver Spot swatted at Iron Stripe as he did his best to be quiet and steady himself at the same time. Iron Stripe glared at Silver Spot with stressed frustration, as if he was silently trying to tell her that he was indeed being quiet. Sam gasped with recognition as he also spotted the Sentiron. "Yeah, that's it." He turned to the woman again and shrugged. "Carry on." The woman shrugged back, put her earbuds back in, and continued her walk. When she had passed, Sam put his hand on his knees and exhaled. "That was close," Iron Stripe said as he and the other two Sentiron came out from behind the building. Saberclaw asked, "Yeah, are we almost to Mr. John's house?" She looked out into the black water. "Yeah, he lived just down that road." Sam pointed to a long road in the downtown area. Saberclaw nodded, and the group began walking toward it. Saberclaw's thoughts were left to roam in her head, so they naturally drifted towards Lockjaw. Was he really on the same side as Rebay, or was he just bluffing? No, he couldn't be. No one would be that loyal to Rebay in just a bluff. What in the world was keeping her from killing him and making her feel so nervous near him? She had no idea, but she sort of loved it. It made her want to be near him, but she knew that if he was on Rebay's side, then they were sworn enemies. "Saberclaw, are you okay?" Silver Spot said as she slowed down to talk to the green robot. She must have been in a daze of some sort, because Silver Spot was concerned. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking." Saberclaw answered as she snapped to reality, determined to hide her feelings. Silver Spot raised a metal eyebrow. "Really? You remind me of when I first met Iron Stripe." Silver Spot laughed as she said this. Saberclaw smiled. "What do you mean?" They walked, but Silver Spot kept talking. Silver Spot continued. "I remember I was shocked when I saw him. I didn't know that a robot could feel that way, but turns out we resemble humans and have more of their DNA than you think. It was an amazing feeling, though. It made me want to be around him at all times. I even tried to get Rebay to let me be a soldier so that I could fight with him. She just questioned me and told me that what I was feeling was called love. The humans feel it all the time with their spouses and family. Although, now that I've said that, I'm not so sure that they feel that exact way with their family compared to their spouses." Silver Spot explained all this with a soft and nostalgic smile. She looked up at Iron Stripe walking ahead of her. Then, all the gears began turning in her head. "Wait, do you feel that love for anyone?" she asked with curiosity. Well, the jig was up. Saberclaw couldn't lie to the medic, could she? Her face had given it away. Now, Saberclaw knew what that feeling was. She got it from that annoying bot Lockjaw. They were sworn enemies, so she knew that there was no way the two of them would get anywhere. But she also knew that Lockjaw would literally kill her any chance he got. Then again, Lockjaw did say some flirty things and didn't kill her last time he got the chance, no. Saberclaw shook her head violently. There was no way she had fallen for her sworn enemy. If she had, she would learn to ignore it, then she wouldn't have to lie to Silver Spot. This gave her the confidence to say, no, not at all. Silver Spot was clearly skeptical, but shrugged it off. They walked up to a small house. It was made of bricks with junk all throughout the small yard. Lila said as her nose scrunched up, "This place is nasty. We are here. Sentiron, hide in the woods for now, but make sure you can still see us. We will call for you when we are ready," Sam said as he walked up to the door with Lila. He figured that John would be a little frightened if he suddenly saw giant robots staring him down. Saberclaw sighed as the robots walked into the woods and got low to the ground, hiding themselves. Sam raised his fist to knock on the door, but he hesitated. He hadn't seen his brother in years. He could still be bitter, or worse. Sam shook his head a little and cleared his mind. This wasn't about his and his brother's relationship. It was about equipment for the Sentiron. He knocked on the door 3 times. A shout was heard from inside the house. "Coming!" The door creaked open to reveal a man with streaks of gray throughout his blonde hair. The man was wearing a dirty white shirt and jeans as he looked up at Sam. His eyes widened as he saw him. "Sam, is that you?" he asked. Sam nodded. He hadn't seen his brother in years and was feeling happy seeing him. So happy, in fact, that he was tearing up. However, he quickly wiped the tears away. Sam answered him, "Hello, little brother." Sam was looking down at his brother, and they were just making eye contact as if the other wasn't real. Lila poked around her father to look at her uncle. He was different than she remembered older. He saw her and got down to her level. "Lila, you have gotten so big." "Excuse me," she answered. "Not like that, Lee. You were a lot younger last time I saw you." "Okay, it is so good to see you again, Uncle John. Right back at you, my little munchkin." Just then, the memories of John's past behavior came back to Sam. He grabbed his daughter's hand and pulled her back behind him. Sam's eyebrows furrowed as his body language switched to angry. "What do you mean, your little munchkin?" He was very protective over his daughter when it came to his brother, apparently. "What? Why are you getting so defensive? Do you think I'm dangerous to her like with your projects?" John said in defense and annoyance. Saberclaw was watching all of this happen from the woods a good distance away from the commotion with Silver Spot and Iron Stripe. "Do you see that?" she asked. He just pulled Lila behind him, and it looked like they're yelling at each other. "Do you think they need our help?" She sounded frantic. Silver Spot answered Saberclaw's stressed question calmly. "Probably not. Even if something is happening, then it'll be fine. Sam is bigger than John anyway." Then, as Saberclaw watched the events, she saw more yelling. She couldn't make out what they were saying, but they were loud. Then, Saberclaw, Silver Spot, and Iron Stripe saw John smack Sam across the face, and Lila gasped. Saberclaw glanced at Silver Spot and Iron Stripe, and they nodded back. They knew what to do. Back at the house, Sam stumbled backward. "You never treated me like an equal and yelled at me when I greeted your daughter, and now you want me to help you with your projects?" John yelled and didn't notice the ground shaking a little. He was focused on his brother, who was holding his cheek and grunted. A large shadow cast over John as he stared at Sam. Lila looked up from comforting her father and noticed the shadow. She knew exactly what it was. Sam looked up and saw the bots. There were 3 of them, and they were so large and tall that it scared John a lot. The black painted one leaned down to him and got in his face. "Hello, human. I saw you struck my creator. I don't condone that behavior." The robot smiled as he said this with his deep voice that seemed to boom throughout John's head. He was terrified and stumbled backwards. He grabbed onto the metal railing of his small brick porch to steady himself. He looked up at the robots and saw the green one punch her fist in her palm.